International Organization for Standardization says standards help businesses of any size and sector reduce costs, increase productivity, and access new markets. And for small and medium-sized enterprises specifically, standards help to build customer confidence that your products are safe and reliable, reduce costs across all aspects of your business. Standards also help you to gain market access across the world. Today on the show, we will be looking at the importance of standards in business, or what in technical terms is called quality management system, especially in manufacturing business. I have on the show Engineer Felix Enyado. He is the Director Operations of Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON. This is Business Trends on NTA Channel 5, Abuja, your United Station, the program that keeps you abreast of all business developments around you and opens your eyes to some important tips to help your business thrive. I am Shikeola Ikpenaye. The program reaches you, courtesy Small and Medium Enterprises Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN.
Brother, what's happening? You're not looking so good.
Life after school has been very difficult. Honestly, see, I can't even take care of myself. Look, I can't even shave. I'm so confused right now. I set up a furniture business and it collapsed. I'm beginning to think someone is after me. It could be from the village.
I don't think anybody's after you. You see, business sometimes just need guidance and mentoring. See, have you heard of this agency called SMEDAN?
SMEDAN, no, not at all.
See, SMEDAN is a government agency that specializes in giving business training to micro, small, medium level business owners.
Wow, John, hold on.
SMEDAN trains you, create market for you, to link you with suppliers of raw materials to manufacturers and producers to consumers. SMEDAN facilitates agricultural commodity exchange and even promote Nigerian-made goods abroad and here in Nigeria. SMEDAN connects young entrepreneurs like you to financial sources so they can have access to loan.
John, I want to be like you. Take me to SMEDAN right now. Let's go.
Wait,
Where's the way?
is this way?
Let's go.
SMEDAN is located at number 35 Port Harcourt Crescent off Gimbel Street, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. It also has offices in each capital of the 36 states of the Federation, or visit www.smedan.gov.ng. This message is brought to you by the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN.
If you're just joining us on this show, it's Business Trends on NTA Channel 5, Abuja. We're talking standards, and joining me to give an insight into this topic is Engineer Felix Enyado, the Director Operations in Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON. That is the organization responsible for ensuring conformity to standards of all goods in Nigerian markets, whether manufactured in the country or imported into the country. But before we proceed, let's see this case study by the International Organization for Standardization that clearly shows the benefits that standards can bring to businesses. I told you I have in the house to discuss issues on standards. Engineer Felix Enyado, the Director Operations from Standards Organization of Nigeria. Sir, you're welcome to the program. So we're talking standards, and Let's start by asking what are standards and why are standards so important to businesses?
Standard is a consensus document agreed to by the relevant stakeholders involved in that particular product or sector that is approved by a recognizing body and is being used by all the people involved to demonstrate that they have complied with the requirements of the consumer or stakeholder.
Okay, that's a body in Nigeria is
No, the approving authority in Nigeria is the Nigerian Standards Council.
okay.
So what that means is that for there to be a standard, there must be consensus agreement. That means that all the people involved in that particular sector or product must come together and agree and say, this is the way we are going to do things in order to meet with the customer's taste or preferences. Here, the main person is the customer. When they agree on a way that they want to carry out the activities in order to meet with that requirement and document it as a document that is agreed, that document must be approved by an authority, which in Nigeria is the Standards Council. So once the Standards Council approves a document that is agreed by the stakeholders, then it becomes a national standards and is given Nigeria Industrial Standards number. So standard is not SON standard, it's Nigeria Industrial Standard.
Okay.
So it's a national document.
Okay. Okay, so now in manufacturing business, like you want to start up a manufacturing business in Nigeria, let's viewers know how important conformity to standards is to businesses, especially small-scale manufacturing businesses.
Yeah, you are aware that the average consumer out there does not know what it takes place for a product to be produced. That tangible product he sees, he does not know the intricacies involved in getting it to where it is. And so it is with a standard that there must, if you are able to manufacture your goods to the requirement of the standard that was agreed by stakeholders that represents the interests of the consumer, then if that product is certified, is confirmed by the regulatory agencies or the conformity assessment bodies that this product meets with the requirement of the standard, that shows that the consumer, when there is a mark, because once you do conformity assessment, you are trying to demonstrate confidence that this product, consumer, buy this product, close your eye and take it, it will meet with your aspirations and with your preferences and with your values. And so when conformity assessments take place, a mark is given, a conformity assessment mark is given. It is that mark that is given that demonstrates that the product that has been or is being offered to the public for consumption meets with the requirement of the standards and that it could be eaten or taken by the consumer and it will give the consumer value for money. Okay. So conformity assessment is actually a process whereby the products are examined, tested, evaluated, and assessed in such a way that at the end of this assessment, to the requirements of the product standards, if it passes, then a mark is given at the end to demonstrate that this product has met with all the requirements stated in that standard that was agreed by the stakeholders, and that when the consumer buys it, that product can offer him value for his money.
Okay, so in the nutshell, we can say that conformity to standards help build the confidence of the consumer.
Yes.
Okay, and now, what are the criteria that the manufactured product will meet to certify its standards for consumption?
Yes, the criteria that a product or service will meet for it to be certified is a process. It's a process. It is not just something you can just pick up the shelf or you come a day and say this product is certified. It starts with inspection. The facility has to be inspected, and in the course of the inspection, you have to see whether the product was manufactured to good manufacturing practice. There are best practice for manufacturing, like good hygienic practice, good agricultural practice. If it is in the farm, that product has to be manufactured in line with that requirements. Then the end product, or in the course of the inspections, they will check the hazard points, the critical control points, where contaminations can take place, or where issues of check has to be critical to ensure that the human beings trying to consume those products are not put in danger at all. If all those are done, at the end of the inspection, the product is sampled, and the product has to be sampled in compliance with the sampling requirement specified in the standard. Then it is taken
for that particular product.
Yeah. In the standard, the sampling requirement is stated.
Okay.
So it is sampled and taken to the lab and analyzed in conformity with the requirements stipulated in the standard. If it passes the requirement stated in the standard, and the factory has all the requirements, the resource to continually manufacture. So it's not all about I manufacture good products today, tomorrow I manufacture bad products, or I'm neither here or there. Standardization means that you are consistent. You are consistent in your approach.
From what I understand, Standards Organization of Nigeria is not only responsible for ensuring conformity to standards of manufactured goods, but also services.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so, what do you need to get certified by Standards Organization of Nigeria, to get your product or service certified?
First, you must be a manufacturer. You must be an entity, legal entity. You must have your business registered.
Okay.
Then you must have your production or manufacturing activity ready, and you must carry out your production in line with good manufacturing practice. Then you must ensure that you have a laboratory whereby you test your product as you are carrying out your production. This laboratory is very, very critical in certification, because you can't be producing blindly. As you do a batch and you start running the batch, once the first sample comes out, you are supposed to pick that sample or samples of those sets and test and check whether you met with the requirement of the standard. If it does not match, then you now call production, check you are deviated from this. And you see, every value you see in the standards means something in production. Every value you see in the standard means something. So if there's a deviation in this particular parameter, you inform production, look, there's deviation, you have to change these ratios and all this to meet with the requirement. And secondly, if you look at the value chain in standardization or in manufacturing, you start with the raw materials.
Yes.
And because you have to start with the raw materials, your purchasing must be right. Your purchasing must be right. You must purchase your raw materials based on the specifications of that product standards. If you don't process your raw material based on the specification of that product, then you may be doing in, garbage out. Because the critical control element is your raw material. If your raw material does not meet with the raw material specification of that product, then you may be having a different thing altogether. Then, even when you've done all your...
The problem is from the foundation.
It's from the foundation. So, the purchasing is actually a foundation for standardization. You must purchase right, and you must purchase based on standard. If you don't purchase based on standard, then you will have problem. Like most of the issues we have in our farm produce of the pesticides residue being high, is because the raw material that was supposed to be used in spraying our farm were not the right raw materials. They didn't meet with the specification of the standard. The recent test that we did shows that most of the herbicides that were in the market were substandard. So when farmers use substandard products, what do you have? You have products that they were using pesticides that were highly resident to the soil. And so at the end, when the fruit comes, those pesticides pack themselves into the fruit. And when it is being offered for sale as export, this is discovered and the product has to be rejected. So it starts with the raw material and it ends with marketing.
Okay.
You must market your product right. You must get feedback from your consumer to know whether the product you have is actually performing well in the market. And it is the input from that that goes into your R&D, research and development. So it's a value chain completely.
So what if you're looking beyond the shores of Nigeria to market your products, like if the product is meant for export? How do you ensure the certification? Is it just the certification that you have in the country that will clear the products?
Yes, the
outside the
certification
country?
mark, if you have a man cap, that man cap means that this product could be locally consumed by Nigerians.
Okay.
And with the rules of origin, that product could equally be consumed by other people outside. But in trading, there is a barrier to trade. And the only thing you can use as barrier to trade is standards. If the standard of that country is higher than our standard, you understand? It then means that technical barrier has been created. You cannot send your product, unless your product is higher than their standard, they can accept it. But if your product is lower than their standard, they cannot accept it. And so what traders were supposed to do, or businesses were supposed to do, is if you have a product in Nigeria that is of Nigerian origin, and you want to export that product to another country, first, you go to the WTO TBT section in SON to ask what is the standard specification of that product in that country. If they tell you, we will be able to discuss with you, okay, for you to meet with this standard, you have to change XYZ in your formulations or packaging. In short, your product could be rejected based on packaging if you don't know what is their packaging requirement. So all these activities are what SON can offer you. We can actually certify your product, and once it is certified in line with that their product, we sign our certificates. We have mutually recognized agreements in our conformity assessment work. So if SON tests using ISO 17025 lab that we have, any other labs or any other government agencies all over the world should be able to accept that product.
Yeah.
Because if we test the product to the requirement of their own standard and we've signed it, that product will arrive without them checking. So it does not, doing conformity assessments, bringing in the standards bureau into it before you export, actually make you go away from those hurdles of being cross-checked again back when it gets to that country.
Okay, so now if this much is put into ensuring conformity of to standards, why do we still have substandard products in Nigerian markets?
What occurs is that anybody or any businesses that goes through the requirement of SONCAP, if their products comes into the country, it meets with the requirement accepted. But if they don't go through SONCAP, it does not. I give you a classical example with the import. People, when they are bringing goods, they will declare their goods at point of getting the first approval from custom that this good is NAFDAC goods. You understand? Then they will put in their document, the custom will clear it. You understand?
Okay.
At the point of exiting, they will declare that the goods is SON goods. You understand? NAFDAC cannot verify. When NAFDAC was supposed, when SON was supposed to verify at the beginning, SON couldn't verify because it was declared as NAFDAC goods.
NAFDAC goods, okay.
Then at the point of exit that you are supposed to confirm that you've inspected and the goods is here of the right quality, another agency is coming to verify. And so there is confusion all over. When this goods comes in, because it came with this kind of arrangement, it's lands being substandard. You are aware equally about our border. They bring most of these substandard goods through the border area. And if it comes into the country, the only alternative you have is to be chasing them around in the market.
In the market.
So, agreed, we will have substandard goods coming in. But we are equally responding to ensure that these substandard goods are not being sold in the market. And that is why SON created the market surveillance unit, very strong in the state offices that are monitoring the market as part of irregular activities like factory inspection.
Okay.
There is equally the SIM unit that is equally doing investigations all over the place to know who brought them in and all that. So working with other agencies, we know that we'll be able to fight this substandard product. But for sure, they must exist. But the other thing is that how do we respond to their intrusion into the country?
Okay.
Is what we are doing as an organization.
Okay. Now you have what we call quality management system. Is it the same thing as a conformity assessment?
No, quality management system is different from conformity assessment.
Okay.
Quality management is looking at the totality of your processes. Does it conform with quality?
Okay.
You are looking at your system. Like if you take NTA, you will look at the entire NTA, all the processes, interrelated processes that make your service delivery easy or make you deliver XYZ services. That is what is quality management system.
Yeah.
You are looking at the totality of the process and looking at the linkages that ensure that you produce the requirement that you set yourself to deliver to.
Okay.
So like NTA, you have, if you pick the news, who provide the news, who makes sure that the news gets to us. All these are processes that are linked, and you have to link them in such a way the person who has this information that has to feed to the next person, is he feeding it right? So it's the totality of the monitoring you have to carry out in your system to ensure that the set objective you want to achieve, you are able to achieve it. Everybody is doing what is expected to do.
Okay. So I want you, on the last note, I want you to use this platform to, reach out to entrepreneurs, whether manufacturers of goods or service providers, on the importance of conformity to standards for their businesses.
My colleagues, businessmen, we've all been talking about providing our product and services to international best practice. This international best practice can only be demonstrated through conformity assessment. That is the man-cap that my officers come to your factory to carry out inspections, write reports, give you feedback of what you must do in order to meet with the requirement of the stakeholders. So if you comply with the recommendations that are made, you proudly display your mark when you get the quality conformity assessment mark, the man-cap logo on your product. Shows that you've demonstrated excellence. Your product, you can export it out of this country without anybody having any fear whether the product will be rejected or not. And so the right way to go is to put standardization in your work. The right way to go is to get your product certified to the requirement of the product standards in which you play. And the right way to go again is to market your product with your mark. That way, you have your desired goal, and the business of Nigeria will expand across the coast of Nigeria.
We've been speaking with the Director Operations of the Standards Organization of Nigeria, Engineer Felix Nyado. He has taken us through issues surrounding conformity to standards in business, whether manufacturing business or services business. He made us to understand that maintaining standards is a global thing because standards are globally adopted principles and applied in many markets of the world, and that standards fuel international trade and help you to gain market access across the world. So in all you do, always think standards, even with that small business of yours, if you're thinking big and really want to explode. On that note, we call it a wrap on today's edition of Business Trends. I am Shikeola Ikpenaye. Hope you connect with me next week, same time on the same channel. Until then, it's bye for now.